In the village of Guru lived a popular food vendor called Leela. Leela was a beautiful woman, popularly known in the village for her delicious and tasty meals. She had a food store at the village markets, adorned with vibrant red and yellow curtains that fluttered in the wind. Leela was very proud of her cooking and always wanted to make sure she's the best cook in the whole village. Everyone sang praises of how tasty Elle's food was, and she had customers trooping in and out from every part of the village, including women, children, and most especially married men. You know the secret and strange thing about Elle's food? The secret is that whenever a married man tastes Elle's food, they will never want to have a taste of their wife's meal at home. They all gathered every day at Elle's restaurant to eat her food, seated on wooden benches under the shade of a giant baobab tree. Almost all the married men in the village prefer Elle's food to their wife's food. Most times, when their wives serve them food at home, they will say, "No, I cannot eat this food. This food is not as delicious as Elle's own. You have to learn how to cook like Elle because I cannot be eating poison when Elle's restaurant is there." This continued to happen in almost all the households in the village. All the married men no longer ate their wives' food. They now preferred Elle's own for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. This was causing a lot of misunderstandings in their homes. The men even went as far as telling their wives to go to Elle to learn how to cook from her because they wondered how to cook from her, because they wondered how Elle made her meals so tasty and delicious. The wives of these married men could no longer take it anymore, and they decided to have a meeting to find out what they could do to make their husbands come back to them and start eating their meals. As they gathered in the village streets, they started asking each other, "What do you think we should do, my fellow women?" "I think we should go and find out what Leela uses in her meal, that our husbands no longer eat from us," one woman said, adjusting her headscarf nervously. Another woman suggested that Elle might have a secret ingredient that she uses for cooking and that they should go and spy on her. After deliberating for some time, they decided that spying on her was not the solution. What they would do instead was go to Elle's restaurant and humbly beg her to please stop serving their husband's food whenever they visited her restaurant. They all agreed to beg Elle, and so they headed to Elle's restaurant to speak with her. When they arrived at Elle's restaurant, they started to speak to Elle, and one of the women said, "Elle, please, we are here to beg you. We are here to beg you. We know you know how to cook very well. You are the best cook in the village. We are not doubting that. But please, we are here to beg you to please stop serving our husbands your meals. Whenever our husbands come to your restaurant, please can you direct them back home to eat our meals instead? Our husbands no longer eat from us, and it is affecting our marriages. We have come to you as women to please help us in this situation." Elle responded, "What do you mean by that? Are you saying I should chase away my customers because you want your husbands to eat in your house? Am I the one that said you shouldn't know how to cook? Did I drag your husbands to my restaurant to eat my food? Please, if you don't have anything meaningful to say, leave my restaurant. I am a very busy person." The women continued to plead with Elle, but she chased them all away, telling them to go and look for how they could hold their husbands and not come back to disturb her again. The women left Elle's restaurant feeling so frustrated and disappointed. They were helpless and didn't know what to do. So they decided to all go back home, hoping that one day the secret to Elle's meal would be revealed and their husbands would come back to them. Elle's business continued to flourish with more and more customers trooping in and out, to the extent that almost all the men now gathered at her restaurant every day. A particular married woman in the village called Marie, whose marriage was not even up to 6 months, started having issues in her home. Do you know why? Because her husband had started eating Elle's meal. From the very first day her husband tasted Elle's food, he no longer ate his wife's meal anymore. The woman was wondering what could be going on, and she decided to go see her father in the neighboring village to tell her father everything that had been happening. She said to herself, I cannot take this anymore. My marriage is not even up to 6 months now, and my husband no longer eats my food. I will talk to my father to help me. The thing is that Marie's father is a spiritualist who has the power to foresee things, and so Marie set out to the neighboring village to speak with her father. When she got there, she said to her father, Baba, your daughter is not happy. My husband no longer eats my food. There's a popular food vendor in the village of Guru that my husband now enjoys eating from, and this is causing a problem in my marriage. Baba, please help your daughter. Marie's father set to work immediately. He consulted his oracle and saw that Leela was a strong case to handle, so he decided to visit the restaurant himself. Marie's father arrived at Elle's restaurant, and immediately his eyes locked onto Elle's smile, and he knew that Elle was aware of who he was. Elle said to Marie's father, Ah, Baba, you are welcome to my restaurant. You are just in time for a special treat. My food is the most delicious in the village. Elle held a steaming bowl of her famous food, and Marie's father's stomach growled in anticipation. His mouth was watering, and he wanted to have a taste of this food that had a beautiful aroma, but he knew better than to accept her offer. Marie's father said to her, You are Lila, right? I need to speak with you. Elle responded with a smile, Of course, Baba. I am always happy to help. But first, let me offer you a bowl of this, my delicious food. Once you taste my food, you will never remain the same again. Baba said to her, The main reason why I am here is for you to confess. Elle, you know what you have been doing in this village, and I am here to make sure your secret is exposed. If you don't make an attempt to confess, you will regret it. Elle started being harsh to Marie's father and said to him, Baba, I don't know what you're talking about. In this restaurant, all we do here is sell delicious food. I'm sure you must have heard about me by now, so I don't know what you're saying. Don't come to my store to accuse me wrongly. If you want to eat, please eat. And if you don't want to eat, don't spoil my business. Just get up and leave. Marie's father responded, Elle, I am warning you for the last time. You are causing so much pain in marriages through your food. Men no longer eat their wives' food. Confess now before I make it an open case. Elle responded, You are just being too paranoid, old man. What is all this talk about me holding people's husbands? Am I the one that told their wives not to know how to cook? I don't know what you're talking about. Marie's father saw how stubborn Elle was and decided to do a silent incantation to get Elle to confess. Immediately, he touched Elle, and Elle started screaming, shouting, I am sorry, I am sorry, I am sorry. Yes, 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 I will confess, I will confess. I've been using my menstrual flow to make meals to get all the married men in the village to like only my food. This is what happened. And Elle started narrating the reason why she started using her menstrual flow. Elle narrated that long ago, in that same village, she was a lady in her late 30s, looking for a husband. All the suitors that came for her turned her down because of her size. The most painful part was that all the younger, slim girls in the village started mocking her. The worst incident that made her decide to do this evil was that one day a suitor came to ask for her hand in marriage. When the suitor arrived, all of a sudden he decided not to marry Elle anymore, but instead chose a slim girl in that same crowd. In that same crowd. Instead of the villagers supporting her, they started mocking her, telling her that she was cursed and could never get a husband who would love her. Because of this, she decided to visit a spiritualist who told her to use her menstrual flow in a local pot and add it to the meal she cooked every day. Any married man in the village who came across her meal would never taste their wife's meal again, except for hers. That was how she started using her menstrual flow as a secret ingredient in cooking. That is why most of the married men in the village of Garu no longer eat their wives' food, but instead eat Elle's food. After confessing, she started pleading with the villagers to please forgive her. She said that she was frustrated and pained, which was why she went into this evil act. The villagers were so mad at Elle, and they started chasing her, saying they would burn her, and that she should never step foot in the village of Garu again. Elle was banished from the village of Garu. That was how the secret of Elle's meals was exposed. The moral of this story is that we should all be careful of what we eat and where we eat, especially if we are not sure of the source of that meal. Secondly, we shouldn't repay evil for evil. Everything in this life has its time, and we should always wait for God's appointed time. We shouldn't fight back with evil because we are pained or frustrated. Thank you for spending time with me on this storytelling journey. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit subscribe and join our growing community. Here's your unique takeaway for today. Let kindness and patience guide your path. Until next time, stay curious and stay inspired. Bye for now. In the darkest hour of one Saturday night in Latte Kingdom, a set of twins were born, two beautiful girls born into the family of Papa and Mama Adora King. The night was cold, and the only sound that could be heard was the soft chirping of crickets. A gentle breeze rustled through the trees, adding a serene touch to the atmosphere. Their father was a successful gold merchant that traded far and wide. He named the newborn twins Zara and Lila. As the twins grew, there was a great physical difference between them, despite the fact that they were fed the same meal and ate at the same time. Yet, the twin named Zara looked too thin, skinny, and tall, while Lila, the other twin, looked chubby. As they grew older, Zara became the object of mockery for everyone in the village because of her figure. They called her horrible names like skeleton or jagbe, which means thin fish, and she would often cry back home, where her parents always did their best to pacify her. Mama Adora would hug her tightly, whispering comforting words, while Papa Adora would try to cheer her up with small gifts like her favorite sweets or flowers from the garden. Even her twin sister Lila would also give her words of encouragement. No one wanted to be Zara's friend. Most social groups in the village rejected her, and the few groups that accepted her used every chance they got to humiliate her or laugh at her until she got tired, fed up, and stopped attending their meetings. Lila, her twin sister, on the other hand, had so many friends and was a member of various social groups in the village. The only thing that kept Zara sane in all of this madness was her cooking skills. She was a really wonderful cook, to the extent that whenever she prepared food for her family, everyone ended up licking their plates and praising her for the delicious meal. Her home was really the safe haven for her, where she would often find solace in the cozy kitchen, filled with the scent of herbs and spices. But whenever she stepped out of the house, the wolves in the form of villagers were always there to ridicule her for being skinny, especially whenever she and her twin sister went to the market. People started to compare, whisper, and gossip and start to stare. One sunny afternoon, the twins headed to the market to get some food ingredients. The marketplace was bustling with activity, with traders shouting out their wares and children running around, playing games. The aroma of fresh produce and spices filled the air, adding to the lively atmosphere. Lila, why did you suck Zara's blood? The fish seller said, her voice dripping with mockery, while she pointed at Zara with a sardonic grin. A fish seller said this while giggling hard, and everyone in the market joined in laughing. Watch out for the strong wind tomorrow, Zara, so you don't lose your balance. Another person added. Zara was so sad and dejected, she couldn't even utter a word. You should all be ashamed of yourselves, Lila fired back angrily at them. Most of you have children, and if you don't, it must be because you are too bitter to have one. But I am sure you have siblings, yet you behave like fools. Zara was so happy her twin sister had her back. Lila would always stand up for Zara against these mean bullies until one day, Lila's boyfriend named Jalen came visiting. Jalen is the son of a famous cocoa farmer, and he had been in a love relationship with Lila for the past 2 years. He came to inform her that they wouldn't be getting married anymore because his family was not in support of their union. Why am I not good enough for you? Lila and I not good enough for you? Lila asked Jalen in tears. You know you are perfect, but my parents fear your twin sister's skinny genes might manifest in our children if we get married. Lila couldn't believe her ears. Her world came crashing down, and she began to resent her twin sister. She spent sleepless nights staring at the ceiling, with tears streaming down her face, wondering why fate had dealt her this cruel hand. She was still crying herself to sleep every night when she was also sent out of all her social groups because people didn't like how she stood up for her skinny twin sister. Lila blamed all these woes and misfortunes on her sister Zara and decided she was going to make her life miserable. One day, Zara cooked a delicious meal for the house, like she always did, her heart full of hope that the family would enjoy her cooking. But as she stepped out for a moment, Lila came into the kitchen, her face twisted in anger, and poured sand into the pot of food her sister had just made. Zara looked confused. Why did you do that? She screamed. Shut your mouth, skinny witch, Lila fired back. The following week, Zara fetched a bucket of water and left it in the bathroom to go into her room and get herself changed before having a bath. The bathroom was dimly lit, with a small window allowing a sliver of sunlight to filter in, creating a calm, serene ambience. Lila sneaked into the bathroom and poured something into her sister's bathing water, unknowingly to Zara. She returned and took a bath with the contaminated water. She started to itch all over. She scratched herself so badly and screamed loudly. Her parents had to rub her body with palm oil before the itching reduced. Lila was laughing all through, which made Zara realize her twin sister had done this to her. Unlike before, when she stood up for her sister in public, now whenever they went to the market, Lila would loudly call Zara a skinny skeleton in the presence of everyone to make them see and hear that she was done standing up for her. This made Zara so sad, and she cried day and night. Their parents would scold Lila and warn her to desist from humiliating Zara. She is your twin sister, for crying out loud. I didn't raise you to be this way, their mother would say. But still Lila felt no remorse and refused to listen. Zara destroyed my life, the love of my life. Galen left me because of this thin stick, Lila shouted. Their mother, who couldn't believe what she just said, got so angry and slapped Lila hard on the cheek. It was mockery and humiliation every day for Zara, from her twin sister and the entire village. But there came a time when the twins' village, known as Latte Kingdom, and two other neighboring kingdoms, named Moeri and Boer, were preparing for a once-in-a-decade contest called the Queen Maiden Competition. For this competition, each kingdom was supposed to put forward three of their most capable, competitive, and beautiful maidens to represent the kingdom. The villagers in Latte started projecting the names of the three maidens they liked or thought would represent their kingdom in the Queen Maiden competition. Some even jokingly mentioned Zara's name, and they all laughed mockingly. One of them added, "Who will put a skeleton forward to represent you humans?" And they all laughed again. One of the other kingdoms would be hosting this year's competition because Latte hosted the last one. One quiet afternoon, Zara went to fetch water at the village stream. The air was filled with the sound of birds singing. It was there she met a man called Adio, who was sitting on a large rock by the water, sketching the scene before him. Adio is one of the organizers of the Queen Maiden competition from the neighboring kingdom hosting this year's contest. But Zara didn't know this. Immediately he saw Zara. He was so thrilled and amazed by her stature. "What beauty is this?" he said to Zara. "You are blessed with a lovely figure that many people would kill for," Adio added. Zara looked so confused hearing these words. She felt he was just being sarcastic. But Adio was looking really thrilled, and he told her he was in their village to get the names of the three maidens that would be representing them in the upcoming competition. "I am sure your name would be on the list because you look fit for the competition," Adio said confidently. But Zara told him that that was not going to happen because everyone hated her in the village and wouldn't even think of recommending her for such a competition. She also said that aside from her parents, he was the first person to ever think of her stature as good. Everyone else called her skeleton and other bad names. Adio was shocked to hear this and persuaded her to dress well and make sure to come watch the competition, even if she wasn't going to partake. Zara hesitated at first, but later agreed to show up on the day of the competition. The other two kingdoms, Latte and Moeri, traveled down to the palace of the host kingdom, Boer, where the competition would take place. The twins and their parents were also present, all looking radiant and elegant. After the three girls representing each kingdom in the competition were called out, the organizers announced that there would be an additional contestant sponsored by the host king himself. One of the privileges the host king enjoys in the Queen Maiden competition is the power to add one more maiden as one of the contestants. Everyone was eager to know the lucky maiden that would be joining the other 9 contestants. The organizers then called out the name of Zara as the chosen contestant sponsored by the king to join the other maidens. She was so shocked. Her fellow villagers were also confused, shocked, and jealous of this. Even Lila, her twin sister, was so angry about this. What will a drumstick be useful for in this contest? Lila mumbled to herself, but all of them couldn't do anything to stop it. Zara's parents were also happy for their girl and started clapping hard, cheering her on. Zara, still in shock, hesitated to step out at first, but her parents kept clapping, and this boosted her confidence. She stepped out, looking so tall and elegant. She had dressed so elegantly and with grace as well as she joined the other 9 maidens. The competition began, and the first stage was the cooking contest. The competing maidens were all tasked with cooking traditional dishes. Zara, who already had superb culinary skills, finished preparing a meal quickly. It was like a walk in the park for her. The judges tasted the meals cooked by the 10 maidens and announced the 5 maidens who did so well and would be proceeding to the next stage of the competition. It was no surprise to hear Zara as one of the 5 victors. After all, she is a good cook who made delicious meals all ready for her family before the contest. The second stage was about finding a treasure that was hidden in the forest, and the first maiden to return with the hidden treasure would be crowned the Queen Maiden of the 3 kingdoms. But there was a clause. The 5 maidens had to swim across a river to get to the forest where the treasure was hidden. Many of the maidens couldn't swim fast enough, but Zara could swim a lot faster because she was fit and therefore had light weight. She was the fastest swimmer. She got into the forest and started searching all over for the treasure. She searched, and 15 minutes in, she was still searching. Another maiden named Amira finished swimming and proceeded to the forest. She saw Zara and also started searching for the treasure. A few minutes later, Zara looked in a direction in the bush and saw a blue shiny treasure. "That must be it!" she screamed, forgetting it was a competition. The other maiden, Amira, heard this and raced over to the treasure's direction. It turned into a running competition because now Zara had to catch up. Both of them ran, but unfortunately for Zara, her cloth was hooked by a tree branch and she fell to the ground. Amira got to the treasure before her, but something unexpected happened. Zara, still on the floor, saw a lot of other blue treasures in the bushes. They looked just like the first one she saw, and this made something click in Zara's head. These blue treasures were a bunch of distractions from the real treasure they had come to find. Zara stood up and wanted to tell Amira, the other maiden, but she learned from her previous mistake and decided to keep this discovery to herself. Amira, on the other hand, raced back to the riverbank with the fake treasure and told the 3 other maidens she had found the treasure. They believed her and felt they already lost the competition, so together they swam back to the kingdom. Zara, still searching the forest, felt water drip on her from above. She looked up and saw a golden box on a tree. It sparkled so much, and this convinced Zara it was the real treasure they were looking for. Because of her tall figure, she climbed the tree easily and carried the golden box. She opened it and saw several other colors of those blue treasures she had seen in the bushes. She closed the box and journeyed back to the palace. Zara got to the palace, and every single eye was on her. She looked so tired, carrying the big box of treasure. Immediately she got to the rest of the contestants, including Amira, who was looking at her with so much envy. The organizers unveiled the drawing of the treasure the maidens were supposed to return with, And to Zara's fellow villagers' surprise, Zara came back with the exact treasure. She was declared the winner, crowned, and named the Queen Maiden of the Three Kingdoms. She was also given lots of treasures such as gold, clothes, and a house of her own. The villagers were shocked, but had to admit it. They all started showing Zara fake affection and apologizing for how they treated her. Her parents were overjoyed, and Lila, her twin sister, felt so ashamed and didn't know what to say to her. When they returned home, remembering how much she humiliated her twin sister, Lila decided she would pack her things and leave the house because she was so ashamed of herself. But Zara stopped her. "Why would you leave your family?" Zara asked. Lila started crying. "I am so sorry for how I treated you, Zara. You are my twin sister, but I treated you like an animal. I prefer to please outsiders than my own flesh and blood. Let me just leave. This shame is too much for me to bear." Lila cried out loud. "Lila, I can never hate you. We came to this world through our mother's womb on the same day. I love you no matter what, Lila, and I forgive you." The twin sisters hugged each other, tears streaming down their faces as they both realized the value of family. From that day on, they made a pact to never let anything come between them again, and they lived happily ever after, supporting and loving each other unconditionally. The moral lessons of this story are numerous, but a moral lesson that stands out is that we should all embrace ourselves. No matter your situation, there is always beauty in being unique or different. When life gives you lemons, turn them into lemonade. Stop listening to the noise in the form of mockery or humiliation from other people, because only you can show them what you've got. Thank you for staying with us until the end of this inspiring tale of resilience, love, and family. Remember, no matter the hardships you face, there's always beauty in being unique, and true strength comes from embracing who you are. If this story touched your heart, let us know where you're listening from in the comments below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that encourage and uplift. Stay strong, stay unique, and we'll see you at the top. Once upon a time, in a land filled with sunshine and laughter, there was a village so pretty it looked like a painting, with cobblestone streets and colorful flowers lining the pathways. This village was home to King Ikena, a king loved by all because he was as wise as he was kind. His big heart reached out to everyone, making sure they were happy and safe, often visiting their homes to listen to their concerns and offer solutions. King Ikena had a large family with 2 wives. His first wife, Muna, gave him 3 daughters, princesses who were as beautiful as the morning sun. Then there was Ifoma, his second wife, who gave him 2 brave sons, future kings of the land. The princesses were known for their playful hearts. Every day, they would run barefoot out of the palace, laughing and shouting, playing games and having fun, their laughter echoing through the palace corridors. They would go to the river, splash water, and get all muddy, their giggles mixing with the sound of flowing water and birds chirping nearby. Their dresses got dirty, and their hair was a mess, but they didn't care. They felt happy and free. But not everyone thought this was how princesses should act. Some elders frowned at their carefree behavior, shaking their heads in disapproval. "They are too wild," people would whisper. "Why don't they behave like royalty?" they wondered. This made their mother, Muna, very worried. She would often sit them down, her voice soft but firm. "You are princesses, my dears. My dears, my dears. It's time to act like it. But the princesses would just giggle and run off, their spirits as free as the wind. They wanted to be like everyone else, to play, to explore, and to love the land they would one day watch over. This made some in the village call them foolish. Why can't they see they're not like us? They'd say. But the princesses didn't mind. They believed being true to oneself was more important than wearing a crown. So, despite their mother's worries and the villagers' whispers, the princesses continued to dance with the world, their hearts as wild and free as the beautiful village they called home. In this village, there was usually a festival that happened every year. This wasn't just any festival, it was for the princess's brothers, to find brides. On the day of this festival, the village square was alive with colors, music, and the sweet smell of festival foods, with lanterns hanging from trees and children running around excitedly. Beautiful girls from the village, and even from places far away, came. They wore their prettiest dresses and danced beautifully, hoping one of the princes would pick them to be a bride. But in the palace, the three princesses, Ada, Kelechi, and Amaka, watched from a window, their thoughts far away from the glitter and the gold. When men came asking for their hands, the princesses would find reasons to say no, sometimes even hiding behind curtains to avoid their proposals. He's too proud, Ada would say. He's too proud, Ada would say. He thinks his gold can buy love, Kelechi would sigh. Even when a very, very rich man from another village came with lots of gifts, the princesses just shook their heads. They splashed water on him when he said he wanted to marry all three to make them his seventh, eighth, and ninth wives. That made everyone in the village talk. How foolish, they said, turning away all these rich and powerful men. Their parents, King Ikena and Queen Muna, were puzzled and a bit sad. Why won't you marry? They'd ask. Your brothers are ready, and you are the elders. But the princesses would only smile and say, when we find true love, we will know. The festival for their brothers was beautiful. Maidens danced and laughed, hoping to catch the princess's eyes. And though the princesses admired the courage of these girls, their hearts longed for something different. They didn't want a love that was found in a day. They wanted a love that understood them, that saw beyond their crowns. As the festival ended and the princes found their brides, the village talked even more. What will become of the three foolish princesses? They whispered. But the princesses weren't worried. They believed in their hearts that true love wasn't something you could find in a festival. It was something that found you in its own time and in its own way. As the seasons changed and the moon danced its way through the sky, the princesses grew into beautiful young women. They watched the leaves turn from green to gold, thinking about love, about what it meant to them. They saw their brothers happy with their brides, and something stirred in their hearts. Maybe, just maybe, it was time to open their hearts to love. But it had to be true love, the kind that saw them for who they really were. One evening, under a sky filled with stars, the princesses went to their father, King Ikena. They had a request, one that made the king's eyebrows rise in surprise. Father, they said, their voices echoing with hope, we want a festival of our own, a festival of our own, a festival where men can show us their talents and skills. We want to find love, but it must be true love. King Ikena looked into their eyes, seeing the earnestness shining back at him. He knew his daughters were different. their spirits free and wild. At first, he thought this was not a part of the tradition of the land, but nevertheless, he thought maybe this was their way of finding love. So, with a nod and a heart full of hope, he agreed. Let there be a festival, he announced, and the village stirred with excitement once more. Word spread like wildfire. From the corners of the village to lands far away, suitors prepared to win the hearts of the three princesses. They practiced their skills, polished their talents, and dreamt of love. The village buzzed with anticipation. Tailors sewed fine clothes, chefs prepared feasts, and musicians tuned their instruments. This was going to be a festival like no other. The princesses watched as the village transformed. They saw the eagerness in the eyes of the suitors, the joy in the hearts of the villagers. They didn't know what the festival would bring, but they felt a flutter of excitement in their own hearts. Maybe, just maybe, among the jesters, the poets, and the warriors, they would find the ones who could see beyond the crowns, the ones who could see them. As the day of the festival drew near, the air filled with a sense of wonder. The princesses looked at each other, their smiles saying what words could not. They were ready to step into the unknown, ready to find love, but only if it was true. The village waited, the suitors readied themselves, and the stars watched from above. It was the beginning of something magical, something that could change their lives forever. The day of the grand festival arrived, shining bright with the sun's smile. The village square was alive, buzzing like a beehive with excitement. Men from the village and lands far away came, their hearts set on winning the princesses. They came dressed in their finest muscles gleaming, smiles wide, and gifts in hand. Some brought gold, others boasted of their lands, and many showed off their strength and beauty, each hoping to catch the eye of a princess. The princesses watched quietly, their eyes sparkling with mischief. They saw the efforts of the suitors, each trying to outdo the other. But deep in their hearts, they knew that gold and strength were not what they sought. They wanted someone who could see beyond the surface, who could understand their hearts. So, as the sun began to dip, casting golden light across the village, the princesses stood before the crowd. "We have a challenge," they announced, their voices clear and strong. "To win our hearts, you must do more than show your wealth or strength. You must guess our real names." A hush fell over the crowd. Names. But who knew the princesses' names? They were known far and wide as the three foolish princesses. Their real names, a mystery lost to all. The suitors were stunned. Guess their names? It was a task that seemed impossible. They had prepared to show their might and wealth, not to guess names. Murmurs spread through the crowd, a mix of confusion and curiosity. How could they find the names of the princesses? But the princesses stood firm, their challenge hanging in the air like a riddle. It was a test not of wealth or strength, but of wisdom and patience. They wanted to see who would look beyond the titles, who would take the time to truly know them. The village buzzed with questions. How will they find the names? Is it a quest, a puzzle? The suitors looked at each other, their confidence shaken. The princesses watched, a smile playing on their lips. They had turned the tables, challenging the suitors to look beyond the surface to seek a deeper connection. As the festival ended, the suitors left with their minds buzzing. They had come to show off their best, only to be met with a challenge they had not expected. The princesses had shown their cleverness. making it clear that they sought a love that was true, a love that saw beyond the crowns and the titles. The village whispered of the princess's test, wondering who, if anyone, could rise to the challenge, and young children would gather around the elders to hear stories about the daring suitors. It was a story that would be told for days to come, a tale of three princesses who sought love in their own unique way. The challenge had been set, and now it was up to the suitors to find the answers. The quest for the princesses' names had begun. In the village, where everyone was busy guessing and whispering about the princess's challenge, there lived a man named Udo. Udo was known to all, but not for reasons one might expect. He was the village drunkard, often seen stumbling and mumbling, his days spent in a haze of laughter and wine. Most considered him foolish, a man of no consequence. But beneath the surface, but beneath the surface, there was more to Udo than met the eye. When Udo heard about the princess's challenge, something stirred within him. He saw what others didn't, a chance, a glimmer of hope. Why not me? He thought. Why not me? He thought, why can't I win the hearts of the princesses? So, with a determination that surprised even himself, Udo set out on a quest to discover the true names of the three princesses, spending his nights under the stars, contemplating the best way to win their hearts. Day after day, Udo followed the princesses, not too close, just a shadow among the trees. He watched them laugh and play, their spirits as free as the birds above. But no matter how closely he listened, their names remained a mystery. They called each other by nicknames, their bond a secret language of smiles and glances. Then one day, fate took a hand. As the princesses wandered near the forest edge, the youngest, full of joy and mischief, didn't see the hidden pit before her. With a gasp and a tumble, she fell in, her laughter turning to cries of fright. "Help!" she cried, her voice echoing through the trees. "Please, someone!" Udo, hidden behind a bush, watched in shock. This was his chance, not to win a challenge, but to do something good, something right. But before he could move, he heard the eldest princess shout, "Ada, to the rescue!" And then the middle one, "Kelechi's coming too." Udo's eyes widened. The names of the princesses spilled like precious gems. He watched as Ada and Kelechi worked together, finding a long stick to help their sister hold on. "Amaka," they called, their voices filled with love and concern. With a heave and a pull, the sisters pulled Amaka from the pit, their arms wrapping around her in a tight hug. Udo, hidden still, felt a warmth in his heart. He had found their names, but he had also seen the love they shared, a love that went beyond any challenge, filled with a new resolve. Udo stepped out from his hiding place, his heart beating like a drum. He knew what he had to do. With a shout that carried across the village, he declared, "I know their names. Ada, Kalechi, Amaka." The village turned in astonishment. Udo, the one they called a fool, had done what none could. He had discovered the secret that lay at the heart of the challenge. It was a moment of triumph, not just for Udo, but for the princesses too. They had found someone who saw beyond the games, someone who had taken the time to truly know them. As the news spread, the village buzzed with excitement. Udo, once the village drunkard, was now the talk of the town. His strategy, born of patience and observation, had revealed the true names of the princesses, It was a story that would be told for generations, a tale of unexpected heroism and the power of looking beyond appearances. As the village gathered, eyes wide and whispers loud, Udo stood before King Ikena, the princesses by his side. The air was thick with anticipation. Udo, once thought a mere village drunkard, held the attention of all. I know the names of your daughters, he declared proudly. Ada, Kelechi, Amaka. But Udo had one more surprise, a secret that would change everything. I am not who you think I am, he began, his voice steady and strong. I am Prince Udo from a neighboring village. I came here not as a fool, but in disguise to learn the true hearts of your daughters. The village gasped, eyes turning from Udo to the princesses, then back again. The man they had mocked was a prince, wise and cunning, who had seen past the game to the truth beneath. The princesses smiled at Udo, their eyes shining with respect and something deeper, a connection forged in understanding and kindness. They had seen many suitors, men of wealth and strength, but none had sought to know them as Udo had. He had shown wisdom, seen beyond titles and appearances to the heart of who they were. King Ikena, moved by Udo's revelation and his daughter's happiness, agreed to the marriages. You have proven yourself wise and true, he said to Udo, worthy of my daughters. The weddings were like no other. Celebrations that filled the village with music, laughter, and joy, with fireworks lighting up the sky and dancers twirling in beautiful costumes. Ada, Kelechi, and Amaka, the three princesses once thought foolish, stood proudly beside Prince Udo, their hearts united in love and respect. As the princesses set off with Prince Udo to begin their new lives, the village was left in a state of wonder. They had judged the princesses and Udo, labeling them foolish without truly seeing their hearts. But the love the princesses and Udo showed was not about titles or appearances, but about understanding, respect, and seeing the true worth of a person. The story of the three princesses and Prince Udo became a legend, a tale of wisdom, equality, and the power of love. It was a reminder to all that true nobility comes not from birth or wealth, but from the wisdom of the heart and the courage to see beyond the surface. And so, as the sun set on the village, casting a golden glow over the land, the people whispered of the day's wonders, their hearts filled with a new understanding. The princesses and Prince Udo, now bound by love and wisdom, journeyed forward, their futures bright with promise, leaving behind a village forever changed by the lessons of their tale. Thank you for joining us on this enchanting journey of love, wisdom, and courage. If you enjoyed the story, please like the video, share it with your family and friends, and leave a comment with your thoughts. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell so you never miss another magical tale. Goodbye for now, and we'll see you in the next story.